Hi, this is Kalpana Singhal, founder and chief editor, CXO TV, our flagship brand of Tech Plus Media Group, welcoming you all to this conversation on scaling innovation and agility to build a truly digital enterprise. So, what is this all about? We all know that to succeed, innovation and agility must be at the core of our business. But reimagining the way products and services are made at scale is easier said than done. As any CXO will tell you, pilots are easy, but scaling up is hard. It's true for all types of transformation, digital, agile, technology, or data. Pilots produce great initial results, but efforts to move those results into the market or embed them across an organization often fall short. So, moreover, launching digital initiatives is one thing, doing so successfully is another. Many organizations have yet to realize the benefits they want and need from their digital transformation journeys because of the common roadblocks that hinder these journeys, such as slow project implementation, low digital literacy in business teams, fragmented data coming from multiple sources, and a lack of relevant skills, to name a few. Organizations that successfully overcome these challenges and transform into a truly digital, innovative, and disruptive enterprise will be well positioned to become industry leaders. In order to take this discussion forward, we have with us esteemed panelists. Let me introduce the two of them without further ado. We have with us Mr. Soni A, CIO, South Indian Bank, and Mr. Amol Diwanji, who is the Head System Engineering, VM Software, Indian SAC, to discuss strategies for innovative digital transformation and essential components for successful digital transformation as enterprises move to digitize their platform and stride through their modernization journey. So I'm extending a warm welcome to the two of you. Welcome, Amol, and welcome, Soni. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we hope to have a very fruitful discussion here. So let me jump right into the first question. Mrs. Soni, I'm directing the first question to you. So you have been leading technology initiatives at South Indian Bank for a long time. So what are the three things which excites you about your role across the organization? If you can elaborate, please.
Thank you. So the first thing that I cherish in this role is the fact that I've probably been as old as the technology of this bank. So I've been with this organization since the mid of 90s, and I've seen the organization leapfrog from being a completely traditional entity to where it is today, where we pioneer some of the cutting edge technologies in banking, and we stand tall amidst the best of the breed in India. So that gives us a perspective in terms of what is it that the organization has achieved and what is left to be done as we grow forward and as the context and the ecosystem around us evolve. That also lends a lot of credibility in terms of achieving results and doing transformation. The second thing that I feel is something that has been very exciting is that around 4 to 4.5 years back, when we first decided to create a new vertical, I had taken up the mantle and to head the digital. And from that point, the bank has been showing tremendous growth in digital in various metrics. And we have transformed ourselves from being a traditional bank, which was already adopting great technology. But in the last 4 years, we have really leapfrogged ourselves as much as most of the country has in digital, with real strong focus on the customer at the core. The third area where now I'm really excited to be in is in terms of the overall transformation of the bank. In the last 2 years, we have embarked on multiple transformation projects of huge scale, where some of them is definitely powered by technology, but there are quite a lot of them which are beyond technology in terms of culture, in terms of nudging the behaviors of the customer, of the staff, and branding the bank in a new way. And I'm really happy and proud to be a part of a core team which is driving that process in the entire organization.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So thank you for setting the context for my second question. As enterprises are bracing for their digital transformation journeys to build a truly digital enterprise, what are the top challenges that restrict optimum results? And what are the factors hindering the benefits from being fully realized?
Well, if you look at it, it's a very apt question for a bank like ours, because we have steeped into tradition. We have a 90+ year existence in in this country, and that brings in its wake advantages as well as disadvantage. Like most of India, we have a heterogeneous customer base, with the demographics distributed evenly across multiple cohorts. So, as a bank, unlike a newcomer who can probably start from scratch, we have had to build our digital journey. At one point, when we started, we were looking at around 50% as our digital transaction percentage, and today we have grown from that number to 94% of digital, which is being achieved by looking at various challenges and trying to surmount them. So one of the challenges in digital, even though many people assume is probably the fact that many organizations do carry a lot of legacy. When I say legacy, I mean technology, I mean data, and processes. So the big aspect about digital transformation would be to see it from a wholesome point of view across all of this: people, process, technology, data, and then arrive at something which is comprehensive rather than look at every single journey as separate. So that's one decision that we took, and the results are there for everyone to see in that sense. So the second challenge would be something which is external in nature. I mean, in India, you have a twin problem of certain segment of population not still digitally active beyond the normal social media and so on and so forth. On the financial space, even though we have done extremely well with payment options like UPI, clocking 5 billion, etc. in a month, there is still far way to go in terms of the penetration. So that's something that every organization which is in digital transformation journey in India is facing. The second aspect is ironically just the opposite, the problem of scale. You know, because we have got these excellent payment initiatives, truly interoperable, which probably is not there in any part of the globe, it also means that the scale that some of these channels can bring us is humongous. So to be prepared from a capacity point of view, from availability point of view, from confidentiality and integrity point of view, that is broadly on the security stack, is also something that every CIO and teams are 24 by 7 thinking about and finding solutions on the fly. So even though we build capacity, you could possibly have a complete black swan event. COVID was one, and why COVID? I mean, even you could have so many of these events which happen on a given day, because the whole ecosystem is so interoperable today. Anybody in the ecosystem could decide to run a campaign, run a big event, wherein all the banks in the country would probably have to ramp up their entire infrastructure tenfold, 20-fold, etc. Because that's how the customer and the consumers react in the digital space. So that's the other major challenge that we have. The third and the last one would be the cultural aspect, which I sort of alluded in the first part, but then it deserves a lot more of respect and interest, because even though we may have the best of systems, to culturally handhold consumers to digital in a safe and secure manner is also a key point which will help ramp up this whole journey in a big way. And as an entity which is actively playing a part in this journey, we are also striving to take up these challenges and solve it as and when it comes up, and be a little proactive in terms of predicting the future.
Yeah, sure. So we talked about people, process, data as a major first challenge. And at this point, I would like to bring in Amol. So Amol, what role can data play in the digital transformation journey of organizations? So because you're an expert in that, so maybe you can throw some light on this.
Sure. First of all, I would not like to call myself an expert. I mean, it's a learning journey. Of course, even I have a lot of experience around, but in my experience, right, digital transformation actually means different things to different people and organizations, right? just last month, I was at a PSU summit in Delhi, where digital transformation was more about going paperless, right? So which is a big initiative in a large government organization, right? But it could also mean getting insights smartly from an AI ML based application, or it could be, it could just mean a lot of automation for a certain organization, right?
Yeah, there are different narratives. Yeah.
Yes, there are different narratives, right? But in my mind, it is essentially about improving three things. The first and the most paramount one is improving customer experience. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, without that, digital transformation is a failure, right? The second is, how do you drive greater value, right? And it could be both tangible as well as intangible. So something like a security is probably more of an intangible, right? I mean, you say that this is how I've made it secure. And the third thing is, of course, how much efficacy you can bring into the processes, right? Basically, productivity, increase in productivity, right? Now, all these things can only happen if you have better understanding, if you have actionable data, and you align your data properly, right? So it can only happen with these three things. Now, of course, for these things you will need different tools, process changes, optimization in your operations, and like Sony said, basically a big cultural shift, right? Because people are a major cog in that entire wheel, right? So you need to have that cultural shift as well. Now, simply put, see, there are a couple of data types. There is structured, there is unstructured, there is legacy data, there is data which is disparately lying and being created, right, in an organization. Now, and apart from this, you of course have transactional data and application data. Now, simply put, there are three steps at a very high level, right? I mean, you collect the data from these disparate sources. Second is, basically you set some sort of an audit trail and you create records as to who has, really moved the data from where and all that. And third is you analyze it for the insights. Now that is as far as, so what is important really here is, collecting the data and deriving the insights from various sources. Now, there are various names associated with it. Gartner, I think, so likes to call it as a data fabric, right? But it is essentially to do with various data sources, which can be also based on social media. The second type of data, which is the application data, and transactional data. There are two things which are important. One is integration, and second is the mobility of data, right? Because when you are talking about digital transformation, a lot of organizations are talking of moving to cloud, right? For example, or rebuilding or refactoring their application, rewriting their application. So data mobility and portability becomes a very, very key aspect in it. Now, in these scenarios, of course, Veeam can play a role, majorly from perspective of data portability, mobility, and data security, which is very, very important, right? So to sum it up, there are three important things when it comes to data for digital transformation, right? The first is data architecture itself, right, or data strategy. Data architecture, what are your business objectives, what are type of different data roles, right? The second is data management, right? How are you going to do data management, migration, portability, mobility, unification of data. And the third and the most important thing is security, right? Because every week we hear about ransomware attacks, right, and cyber events. So data security has also become paramount, right? So that's what I would say from the data perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Amol. So, Sony, what according to you are the major challenges financial organizations face around efficiency and accessibility of data across various functions, and how are you addressing these data challenges inside your organization?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, data, is a rich source for various important business decisions. But then it is assumed different dimensions today, in the form of privacy, in the form of regulatory, scrutiny, and therefore, we need to now approach data from different angles. So while one could be the basic integrity of the data in terms of how well have you collected it, how much of validation has happened in the source of the data. The challenges of data being available in disparate systems and trying to integrate everything. I think by and large, many organizations who have done this journey have cracked that code to a certain extent by having great data practices and cleansing of data, good ETL practices, having the golden records maintained, and so on and so forth. The issue that Amol hinted about cloud journeys, etc., is where banking is now moving to the next stage, where we are worried about data in transit, data getting stored elsewhere, the residency of data, because as you know, there are regulatory guidelines, not only about data in transit, at rest, but also data in transit, because we have, have various guidelines which dictate that we have to, ensure that data processing also is done within the geographic counters of our country. So basically, those are the kind of challenges that are now getting addressed in various forms. Auditability of data, and that's also something that is very critical for the entire data journey. So life cycle of data is planned well ahead. We look at various instances of how a data could be better stored, and we are also keenly watching the new data privacy bill that for which a draft is now getting discussed in Parliament and so on and so forth. So, what are the changes that we would possibly have to bring in? If the country were to adopt it in the final shape, I'm sure that the every data fiduciary would have to be very clear in terms of all the aspects about processes, technology, outsourcing of data. All of that would have to be seen from fresh eyes in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Amol, once again, bringing in you, as you said, that security is one of the major challenge. So, according to you, how data protection needs are evolving in the digital economy, and what are the trends in modern data protection? Also, if you can throw some light on how organizations can go beyond data backup and recovery to unify workload protection and cyber resilience.
Sure. Okay. So no matter how cliched I may sound, but there has been of course a phenomenal growth in terms of hybrid cloud adoption. And in my experience, I know especially in banks, right, our large enterprises are at least looking at two hyperscalers, with their private data center, of course, and this is in addition to the several SaaS services which they are already consuming, and the popular ones are M365, and there could be the likes of Salesforce and others, right? Now, please bear in mind, I'm not saying it is end of on-prem data center, right? Those will continue to run, right? So the large application like core banking, keeping the records and all will continue to run on-premise, right? But what's going to happen is that there will be application rationalization with cloud in mind. So many workloads will end up running on cloud, and some of the existing ones may get refactored or rehosted or rebuilt like a cloud native application, and balance app will continue to run either in a VM format or on physical servers. Now, what is really happening with this is that you are having some sort of a production platform proliferation. Now, earlier from one or two production platforms, you suddenly have 3 or 4 production platforms, right? So which means that you have data lying at various places. Now, despite of having it at various places, you need to make sure that it is protected and it is secured, right? So whether it is on your on-prem, or inside your data center, or it is on AWS, Azure, or Google, you will still need to go ahead and secure it, right? Or even if it is, lying on, say, for example, a Teams or a SharePoint or some mail on M365, you still need to, go ahead and, execute those compliances. And second thing is, like I said, this movement towards cloud is also bringing in the mobility of the applications, not only from on-prem to the cloud, but between cloud to cloud, because there will be various scenarios, right? And for want of cost, or for some user advantage, enterprises may decide to move applications or those virtual machines from one cloud to other cloud, right? So they will need some inherent capabilities to do that. And the third thing is that we have this modern applications or cloud native applications where a lot of critical or customer facing applications are getting refactored as microservices, right? And they are running on typically Kubernetes platforms like EKS, AKS. You have likes of Red Hat OpenShift, which is very popular, and VMware Tanzu. And I know large enterprises, especially banks, who have deployed, say, one app on OpenShift, one app on Tanzu. There is something they are doing on EKS, for example. And mind you, all these things are giving rise to complexity, because you've got on-prem, which has got very different protection requirements. You've got applications on cloud, which are very different, which have got very different protection requirements, and you've got applications on this new age Kubernetes distributions, which have very different protection requirements. So all these are what we call as evolving into modern data protection realm. So which companies like us, we offer the ability to protect all these areas in the native format. So whether it is on-prem or whether it is on cloud like AWS, Azure, or Google, or whether it is lying on a microservice, I mean, if it is a stateful microservice, or even if it is a SaaS service like M365, today we've got ability to protect all the data from a single pane of glass. And also the second important thing is make it portable across all these platforms, right? And while these are only technology things, the most important thing is from the perspective of licensing, right? Because the other thing when you move into this world is how are you going to license these things, right? So which is also what we make it extremely simple, right? So we have a single metric which is true across all the platforms, irrespective of whether you are on prem or on cloud or wherever, right? So that's how this modern data protection is evolving. Kalpana, over to you.
That's great insights, Amol. Thank you so much. And Soni, I would like to talk to you regarding your digital transformation initiatives that you have taken and how it has brought in cultural and operational changes towards building a digital enterprise.
Yeah. So, as I was hinting earlier, when we started this journey of digital transformation in our organization, we were looking at some critical strategies, which internally we called it using an acronym of, indulge, nudge, purge, and forge. So, the aspects were, very carefully chosen, looking at the context in which we were operating and our strengths and weaknesses. So, indulge was primarily to say that my customers who are willing to indulge in a self-service mode should be able to do that on his own without involvement of any back-end support. So that's been our strategy to enhance the various services that we can offer on our self-service channels, be it internet banking, mobile banking, UPI, ATM cards, and so on and so forth. So that's been one big driver, and constantly we look at adding more and more services in that layer. The nudge philosophy is the one where, as I was mentioning earlier, we do expect a lot of our customers to still walk into our branch, but we wanted to change the narrative from transactional to more of support and service. So in the process, we were confident that if we were to empower our branches and our staff with more and more smarter devices like tabs, kiosk machines, etc., those would provide great nudge opportunities to move the customer in a very calibrated manner from a pure manual to a slightly digital mode. And from there, the journey can then go to more and more sophisticated modes. We also ensure that we have provided great tools like e-logs and e-limits, etc., which gives the customer the confidence while moving to digital to say that he or she is safe and secure and need not be worried about these kind of large-scale cyber frauds that happen without their knowledge. The third strategy was purge. And this is where what even Amol was hinting in terms of processes and how much of waste and how much of redundant processes can I purge by using automation, be it in the form of OCR, ICR. RPA is a very strong journey that we have embarked on. We have had significant amount of processes within our mid office and back office which we have automated. We have won various awards also for that. And finally, on the Forge side, we are looking at forging partnerships with fintechs, with tech fins, and scaling up and bringing up in a slightly inorganic manner, wherein we are leveraging on their strength in terms of footprint across the country. So that's these four pillars is what has actually helped us grow from the 50 odd percentage we were to the 94 percentage that we are right now. And one classic example that I just wanted to highlight, which kind of gives you a full-fledged idea about the whole story, is in the last year, when we were just coming out of the pangs of COVID, we decided to launch our own credit card in partnership with a fintech called FPL Technologies, and the brand is called as One Card. The entire project was done in a very agile mode due to the technical capabilities both at our end and at the end of the fintech, and with the entire business control groups, everybody acting in a very a strong manner to ensure that the project goes live in a very fast manner. What is more important is that the entire digital process and all these philosophies that we are used have actually been deployed in that journey, which essentially means that a customer could just start the journey and complete and get a virtual credit card in a matter of 3-4 minutes. And this is you were initially talking about to have pilots is one thing, but to scale up is another challenge. And this is a classic example where in a matter of few months we have scaled up to 100,000 credit cards. And today, our average ticket size is the highest in the country, even though we have just started in a very small manner. So this is a classic case of how we are taking up each initiative. Most of them have succeeded. Some of them need further improvement, but that's the journey that we would like to go ahead to fail fast and move fast, and then have quick successes.
I just wanted to make 2 points. I don't know. I couldn't help, So one is, Sony sir, this One Card is a great initiative. I've seen it, and I have been fortunate to be associated not with your bank, but with other bank in, the similar initiative of launching a, 5-minute credit card thing. The second is, what you spoke around nudge part, right? I mean, it just opened my eyes that, the first time I saw kiosk, it was in Bank of Baroda, and I was wondering, why they're doing this. And today you gave that that explanation was great, right? I mean, it's basically you don't push the customers directly. I mean, you can push a millennial, but you can't definitely push who's over 40 or 50 into digital banking. And this is a great way to really nudge them towards digital banking. Awesome.
Very true, Amar. Very true.
Thanks. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before in the interest of time, any comments from both of you when it comes to the suggestions for the businesses to engross innovation and agility in their culture and process? Would appreciate if both of you can give some suggestions to the audience.
Yeah, Amol, you could start.
Oh, sure. Okay. I would say, of course, like, what Sony said earlier, is to challenge the status quo, right? Keep an open mind. I think so. That's the first thing, and hear out, today, the best thing is you can hear out from experience of so many partners around you, right? So there are so many people who are willing to share their experience. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is, always have an end state defined for the initiative which you're taking. I mean, that's very, very important, right? Sometimes it tends to get diluted and gets remolded into something else. So the end state is very important. And the third thing, in my opinion, is, what again Sony said was, build for self-service. I think so. That's the best thing you can do for any projects, right? So build it for self-service. Automation will follow, right? That's how you would. I think so. These three are, the points I would want to say are important from what pops in my mind right now.
Sure. So we'd like to have views from Sony also.
Yeah, so I think since we have discussed most aspects about digital transformation in a very broad manner, I think I would like to spend some time on the fintech story also, which is something that is booming in India right now. The big success is that we have had so many unicorns come in, and there is excellent takeoff for great business ideas. one of the things that we should all remember that when we are playing in this ecosystem is that we are working in a very regulated environment, because at the end of the day, we are handling customers' money. And more than money, it is the trust that a bank has to deliver, which probably from a fintech point of view, initially it may not be a very important thing. So to marry the trust in technology, that's where the banking relationship comes into play, the regulatory know-how comes into play, and to tread the line where we don't end up on the wrong side of be it from an RBI or from any of those regulators, who are all very active in terms of being very prescriptive on what can be done and what cannot be done. If somebody were to just look at some of the recent directives that have come in from the regulators, it's extremely prescriptive, and they're trying to say that, look, we can't work in an environment where we can take the customer for granted, or we can just throw to wind the strong practices of banking that is developed in India. So that's where the partnership can become very successful. And second is, again, coming back to this point on developing business models on pilot mode, only to see that crash when we are actually scaling up, which is not essentially a technology problem, because technology is the last of problems that we can worry about in today's world. Whereas, Amol, and you were mentioning in terms of the low entry barriers that cloud and other platforms are offering, the problems would be around processes. The problems would be around, again, on compliance angle, and to ensure that in spite of all of that, we can still achieve great digital journeys and transformation journeys, with customer being the center of all of this. So that's where I feel we need to focus in the next few years.
Absolutely. It's quite an in-depth insight. And my 2 cents, like successful transformations require drawing on 3 key enablers: ensuring C-suite alignment, developing the necessary capabilities, and maintaining always-on execution. And companies that establish these enablers will able not only to scale digital solutions successfully, but also to embed digital approaches and ways of working into their operating models. So thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Soni and Mr. Amol, for your deep insights and valuable thoughts.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.